Alright, so let's see, first part of Gerard's question is he'd like a explanation on the Pro Renko, and he'd like to know what the difference is with sync mode on and off. Alright, so yeah, let me pull up that chart. It's interesting here. Look at the guys looking at the ES. We're near the bottom of the channel now. So if we break this channel, makes you wonder what's going to happen. You know, are we up for finally a little decent correction, or are we just going to go sideways for the rest of the year? Interesting. Who knows? All right. So let me I'll switch this chart over to the Pro Renko. Alright, that is off, and okay, so with sync mode turned off, what that does is you can see it allows the bar here when the day ends, right? So for me, since I'm mountain time, the day ends at, let's see, what is it, 10 o'clock. So at the 10 p.m. at night, that's when NinjaTrader considers that the day ends, right, and it puts the date line right there. So you can see with sync mode off, so you can see up here on the display, it S is for sync mode. We can see it's off. It allows the bar to just continue on very smoothly. Now, if I when I turn it on, what it does is it will end the bar prematurely. And let me scroll back over to the beginning of the day. There, and you know, it just so happens it actually doesn't didn't really end the bar prematurely, but hopefully you can see it actually did. The bars do look a little different here, and so the sync mode is it's a new feature to NinjaTrader 7. Essentially what it's doing is that if you have if I have multiple CL charts and the settings, you know, all have to be same, the settings for the bar type all have to be the same, but if I had multiple CL charts with the Pro Renko set to 4-1, then what it does is it allows all of your charts to have matching high, or I should say low and high points. So what can happen, let's see, yeah, here, let me give you a better demonstration here. So I'm going to turn sync back off. Let me make this a little more a bigger time frame bar. So how about if I do, yeah. Okay, so I will have to reorganize my dots here. Yeah, so should have realized that when the new trending bar is set to 1 tick, right? When this is set to 1, what's happening is, right, a new bar is made on every single tick movement, and so actually that did allow that 4-1 bar. It was going to allow that 4-1 bar to synchronize every time because every bar just only moved one tick at a time. But now that each bar is going to have a 3-tick jump between them, now that will actually allow these high and low points to not match up. So alright, got that. So let's put a few more days of data on the chart. Alright, let's try this again. And let's see. Well, we can see the time frame is off a little bit. I mean, the price is still matching, but we can see that the time frame is off now a little bit. And let me try a different number of days. So there we go. Look, these two high points, once again, they're not matching. The time frame is not matching anymore, the closing time. So that is with sync mode off. Now if I turn sync mode on, essentially what that is doing is, let me here we go. Now this is making more sense. You see the gap here. So hopefully you can see the gap here. So what sync mode on, what that does is it starts a brand new bar when the day closes, or probably more appropriately, when the day starts. When a new day starts, a new bar is started to calculate. And so now you can see this gap that happens. And so when you start calculating a new bar when the day starts, that allows your charts to be synchronized every single day. This low point is going to occur at the same time across all your charts, regardless of how many days of data you have loaded, because every day a new bar is started. So this bar here is closed at midnight and a new bar is started, and so that's what, so every day all of these high and low points are synchronized across all of your different charts. Alright, so Gerard, I hope I explained that well enough. Alright, so let me read on the rest of Gerard's question here. What is meant by the swing high and low prices do not match? So I guess these dots are kind of showing where, I put these dots on here to kind of illustrate that point. So since these bars do have wicks on them, the wick is gonna, you can see that the actual tail of the wick, the endpoints of the wicks, the price is matching up, but we can see that since the dots are not on top of them, with this Pro Renko bar, the times aren't matching up. And actually with some of the other chart types, sometimes even the high and low points don't match up. I guess like if you used a maybe it would probably be more the case with a standard Renko bar that doesn't show you the high and low, doesn't have the high and low wicks in it. So that's what I meant by, the swing high and low points aren't matching up. Okay, so Gerard is also asking, what is the difference between this and the backtest Renko? So the backtest Renko, let me pull up another chart here, and I will match the settings between these two charts. We'll put on 12.3 and a reversal of 22, and essentially if you're going to use it for backtesting, you want to turn this wave mode off. And yeah, here's something else that I had Jeremy do for the new Raven that's coming up. You can see how the color's different here on the button. So that way, if you have BloodHound on the chart and you have Raven on the chart, you can tell which button is Raven. So that's nice to have. All right, let's see. Back to the different bar types here. And actually, I guess I'll switch this over to the CL as well. Okay, so all right, we can see this point is let me get my drawing tools up here. Is this point right here. So you can see the clear differences between the Pro Renko and the backtest Renko. Is the backtest Renko, you can see it's showing the true opening price here. Whereas these modified Renkos, these median Renkos, they have a fixed opening price. So that's not it's not that good to backtest any kind of bar type that has a modified opening price. So really, NinjaTrader was designed to be backtested on a bar type that has the true opening price of the bar, so it gives you a more accurate backtest result. So, if you want your backtest Renko to kind of look like the Pro Renko or the other type of median Renkos, then you can turn that wave mode on, and then you can see the opening price is then modified. All right. So with this wave mode turned off, that's kind of the key difference between the two bar types. All right. So let's see. Let me get to other parts of Gerard's question here. Alright, so I think I just answered this one for you, Gerard. So he's asking, is there a setting on the backtest Renko that represents the SI, the Pro Renko? So, so once again, this wave mode. However, these are calculated slightly different. So you'll notice, you notice this high point right here, and notice this high point. So look on the Pro Renko, you'll notice that on these reversal bars, that the wick is always one tick, at least one tick, beyond the close of the previous bar. Right? You notice that these tails always exceed the closing price. Every time there's a reversal bar, you'll notice these wicks will stick out past the closing price. And that's because the Pro Renko calculates a little bit differently. So let's see, let's look at the bar that's building right now, or the bar that's building right now. in order for this bar to close, it actually has to, price has to exceed the closing price of the bar. So, for example, when this bar closed with the green dot, price actually had to exceed that closing price, you know, where the green dot is. So price had to at least go down at least one tick below this closing price. So price had to come down. So let's see, looks like this bar closed at 0.93, and so price had to at least come down to 0.92 to close this bar and open a new bar. Whereas the backtest Renkos, they actually close according to the original Renko formula. So, so what happens is, you know, on this bar with the dot on it, as soon as price came down and touched the closing price, then essentially that bar was closed and a new bar started. So with the backtest Renko, price does not have to exceed the closing price to start a new bar. Price just has to touch the closing price. And because of that, you'll notice that sometimes the wicks here don't exceed the closing price of the previous bar. You know, we can see here it did. The wick exceeded that, and here it did, but that's just by chance. But we can see here again, you know, the wick here didn't exceed the closing price. So that's another subtle difference between the two bar types. So, all right, I think that kind of takes care of. Oh, let's see. Oh, it was one more part to Gerard's question. Oh, and Gerard's is asking, you know, what's the difference between wave mode on and off? So I think I explained that one already earlier on. So, all right, Gerard. Hope that did it for you. Okay, Mike. Mike is asking, I'm trying out your True Renko test bars with Raven. What is the difference between your other Renko bars, and how do I reduce the chop? Well, there you go, Mike. So I think I already covered the differences between the Pro and the back test. All right. So, so essentially, Mike, if you want to reduce the chop, you just, you know, do the same thing with these bars as you would do with any bars. You just make the period bigger, right? So if you wanted to reduce the chop on a minute bar, on minute bars, instead of using a 1 minute bar, you would use a 5 minute bar, or, you know, 10-minute bar. And so the same thing with these Renko bars. If you make the brick size bigger, and if you make the new trending bar size bigger as well, increasing any one of these. Well, actually, no, hold on, let me back up. Primarily, actually, with the backtest Renko, would be the reversal size would control how much chop you have. All right. And, you know, well, and also, and then secondary, the new trending bar period would control that as well. So, you know, the brick size, this is only used when wave mode is on. Right, so the brick size, you can see right here on the chart, wave mode is on, and so you can see the brick size is represented. But of course, if we turn wave mode off, then the true open is used, and therefore, you know, the brick size has no, is not used. So really to kind of filter out more of the chop, really the reversal size is what's doing most of the work. Has a more important in reducing chop. Right. So now you can see with wave mode off that the brick size doesn't apply anymore, right? Because it's using the true open. So, all right, Mike. I hope that answers your question. Andrew is saying, I am trying the back test SI Raven, but I still do not get any results. So, all right. Well, Andrew, when you say you're not getting any results, results is what? What results are you looking for? Now, I guess if you're not seeing trades happen on the chart, let me let's see. Oh, all right. I need to put this chart back on gold. And let me put it back to a fine range. I'm trying to get the text back on the chart here. And oh, it looks like I lost the text. Here, let me turn Raven back on. So Andrew, when you say 0 trades, how do you know that there's 0 trades? What are you using to determine there's 0 trades? Is it because there's no text on the chart? Or is it from the strategy performance? So if you're not seeing text on the chart, what you can do is open up your data series, and you have to make sure that text and markers is turned on. Right, so this is a NinjaTrader feature. So this text and markers parameter applies to all strategies. All right, so Andrew is saying the strategy performance. Okay, so let's close this up and so let me go into Raven here and I will turn this off. Alright, so Andrew, there's a couple of key things you will have to do. First of all, make sure that you have a template loaded into Raven, right? So you have to load up your BloodHound file into Raven. So this one here is just a simple testing one that I have with a couple of just simple testing signals on it. So really you just need to have this on, and if you're back testing, make sure you turn this back test mode. If you want back test results, make sure you set this to true. Right, so maybe that's what you overlooked. Set this to true to get back test results, and then of course you'll need to specify if you're only using an entry logic, if all you have is an entry logic, so I could lock in this entry logic. If all you're having is an entry logic, then you'll need to make sure that you have at least a stop loss and a profit target, right? So that otherwise you'll just sometimes your strategy could submit one trade, and if there's no profit or stop loss, then you just have one trade open, and therefore you won't have any trade results. Alright. The way I have been running Raven on my back test, right, is I'm leaving both of these to to none. Well, actually, I'm leaving my entry to none. And as far as my exits, I'm just using a simple stop loss for my exits. And so let me show you a little trick. This is in the earlier workshop videos for Raven, but if you leave your entry logic to none and
order filled,
then it allows me to use this pull down menu to change the logic template that I want Raven to trade. It allows me to change it on the fly. So let's see, if I switch it over to 2 bars, alright, so if we get another down bar, Raven will submit another entry here based on this. So you can see this 2 bar one is just simply looking for 2 bars in the same direction, and you get a trade signal. This price inflection is just looking for price to reverse, and you get a signal. So let's leave it on 2 bars, and we'll see if let's see. Wow, looks like gold is awful quiet. Oh, let's maybe oil will give us a little more movement here. So once again, if I'll put on this chart, I'm putting Raven on the same system, 2 bar, and I'm able to change the logic template that Raven's trading, because once again, if right, my entry logic is, I just left it on none here. Alright, so so Andrew is saying he's trying to backtest yesterday data on his strategy. Alright. Yeah, so essentially, Andrew, what you need to make sure is make sure that you have your template loaded. For backtesting, just while you're getting familiar with stuff, I would suggest that you select a logic file while you're backtesting, and make sure you turn this backtest mode on. Make sure you set it to true, and set yourself a simple profit target and stop loss. And then and also, of course, make sure you enable it. So make sure you set this to true as well, and that will get you some results. And so with all this set up, then you should see your trade signals on the chart just like this. Alright, so if you're not seeing any trade signals on your chart like this, then it would sound like there's probably an issue with the BloodHound file that you loaded into Raven. So another suggestion is, let me add BloodHound onto this chart as an example. So I'm setting this chart up to kind of give you a demonstration of what can happen that can cause your BloodHound file to not be saved correctly and therefore not opened up correctly in Raven. So let me switch. I'm going to load up this file here. Okay, so what a lot of people do for their first time, right, is you have BloodHound on your chart and you're building your system, right, so you can build your system and get your signals and everything. Let me have these match up. Alright, so this one on the bottom is BloodHound, and this one on the top is coming from Raven. Alright, so what a lot of people do is they're working with BloodHound, they get their signal set up, and then they add Raven to the chart. And a lot of times, and so here's kind of my warning is, you know, if you have BloodHound on your chart, right, and you're working in your system and you're like, oh great, I'm done, and then you go over to your chart and then you add Raven to your chart, if you leave the BloodHound interface open like this, what's going to happen is you know, any changes you made doesn't get saved back to the file. So before you add Raven on there, always make sure that you close all of your BloodHound interface windows, right, before you go and add Raven to your chart. Make sure you close up all those BloodHound interface windows. And what that does is it saves your work back to the file, and then when you add Raven, right, the file that you loaded up had all your work saved back to it. So just something to keep in mind. And then I also recommend that you remove BloodHound from your chart, so that way you only have Raven on your chart. So that way there's less confusion of having multiple BloodHound interfaces open. Right, so you can see even though this looks like BloodHound, but really this is coming from Raven, and I can still open up BloodHound's interface, but this is BloodHound running inside of Raven. Alright, so even though it all looks the same, you still got to keep in mind that this is BloodHound that's running inside of Raven. So, and you can make changes to this right, on the fly, and it will change the way that Raven trades if you change all this. So there's a couple of suggestions for you. Alright, and so Andrew is saying he's trying to use the strategy analyzer. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point you brought up. So if you're running inside the strategy analyzer, something that we found out you need to do is disconnect from your data feed before you run Raven inside of the strategy analyzer. For some reason, because of NinjaTrader's multi-threading capabilities with its data feed, for some reason that causes Raven to crash in the strategy analyzer if your data feed is connected. So just load the data. So let me get rid of these, and let's see, let me pull up the control panel here. So you can either, open up a chart and load all the data on a chart that you want to use in the strategy analyzer, or you can open up the historical data manager, and what we're going to do is we're going to preload the data into NinjaTrader's database before you use the strategy analyzer. Right, so what you can do is whatever instruments you wish to run in your strategy analyzer. You can use this download, and you can download the amount of data that you want to backtest on in the strategy analyzer, right? So just be mindful of what your chart needs. So if I was going to backtest on a 5 range chart in strategy analyzer, minute data won't allow NinjaTrader to calculate a range chart. Right, tick data is needed to calculate a range chart. And so I could just, so if I want to backtest a month, I can just set this to January 1st to January 31st, and then download a month of data, and it will reside in NinjaTrader's database. And then you can disconnect from your data feed, and then open up the strategy analyzer and run Raven inside of that. All right. So we're hoping that NinjaTrader 8 will kind of solve this weird issue with the strategy analyzer. But in the meantime, that's all that's simply needed. Right? Just disconnect from your data feed, and the strategy analyzer ought to work just fine for you. All right. And all right, just kind of going through the comments here to move on to the next one. All right, so it looks like that addressed Andrew's question. And oh, so Randy is saying there are a couple of BloodHound posts in the regular section of Big Mike's. So great. So if you guys want to, well, I mean, anybody that has an account with Big Mike should be able to, start a discussion forum on strategy building and whatnot for BloodHound. But it sounds like if you want to just go ahead and jump into a posting that someone else already started, sounds like there are some postings in just the regular membership section of Big Mike's. So thank you, Randy. Let's see, Mike is asking, last week you divided a candlestick into segments. Are all sessions recorded that I could review last week's session? Mike, I'm not sure what, I don't remember what you're talking about here, what you're asking about dividing a candlestick into segments. But to answer, I guess, your bigger question about are all the sessions recorded, and yes, they are, Mike. So the best way to look at the recordings is I would suggest you go to YouTube, and you can do a search for BloodHound Workshop, and of course that would just bring up bring up all the BloodHound workshops. But also what it would do is you could then click on our channel here. So you can just click on Jeremy's name, and you see that will open up our YouTube channel. And let me turn that off, and then you can take a look at the most recent uploads. And so right here, see, it says uploaded 4 days ago, so this is going to be last Friday's workshop right there. So And if you are wanting to, search, search through the videos, YouTube has a great search capability. So this was like left up from several workshops ago. Someone was interested, I think, in finding a workshop that uses the next gen trigger lines. So I just used trigger as the keyword and did a search, and look, the top workshop that came up is the small and large trigger pullback entry signal. So YouTube is a good way to try and find the videos, trying to find videos that you're interested in. Okay. Alright, so it looks like I took care of Mike's question. Let's see, and then Tim is also asking, can you backtest more than one symbol at a time? Yes, so I'm going to assume that Tim is going back to my explanation of using the strategy analyzer. So, correct, right? So if you want to use the strategy analyzer, right, that's what it's for, so you can backtest multiple instruments. And so, once again, whatever instruments you want to backtest, make sure that pull up the historical data manager and just select all the different instruments that you want to backtest and download the data for each one. Alright, and then you can, once you have all that downloaded, then you can disconnect from your data feed, and then you can run Raven inside the strategy analyzer. Alright, so I hope that addresses your question. Alright, Mike is asking, is Pro Renko part of Ultimate Package or an add-on? So Mike, the bars are a totally separate product. Let me pull up our website here. So if you look at our products, right, so these are all the different products, right, so there's BloodHound up here, and then you can see the Pro Renko and the Backtest Renko are listed as separate products. So if you're interested in, let's see, you said Pro Renko, so if you're interested in that, this will take you directly to that page, and then you can purchase it right here. Okay. All right. Let's see. Mike is asking, adding multiple time frames to a chart. I received an error message about wrong time frame. Mike, that's just a little too vague. Is it? So you see you're adding time frames to the chart. If you're adding something to the chart, I would suggest contacting NinjaTrader support for that. If you got the error message from BloodHound, then then I can help you with that. Although I will need a little more information, please. Let's see. And let's see, this is kind of the test file that I use for this, on this VMware here. So if you're, so Mike, if you're getting an error message when you're using this chart button to add multiple time frames, then yeah, send me an email in, right, to the support email, and I will help you out with that. And just keep in mind, if you add a secondary time frame into BloodHound, you will get this message down here. It says press F5 because NinjaTrader has to build that 1 minute chart that I just added to BloodHound. So by pressing F5 on the chart, that allows NinjaTrader to build that chart data. Alright, let's see. George is asking, I have RJ's Renko Spectrum. Is there a difference between this one and the SI Pro Renko? No, George, they're exactly the same. So, we created the Pro Renko for next gen. So, originally we weren't planning on building a Pro Renko at all, but John at Next Gen had asked us to do that. So, just to I guess be using the same vendor to make it easier on him and his customers to just go to one other third-party vendor. So John asked us to build him the Pro Renko, and so we did. And we figured we might as well let everybody else buy it if they want it. Well, not exactly the same. The Pro Renko does have that ability to synchronize the bars daily. So that's one thing that our bar has that's different than the Renko, or than RJ's Spectrum. Let's see, Tim, I'm trying to kind of figure out the context of your question here. So Tim is asking or saying, yes, but does Renko condense its sum? So Tim, I'm assuming you're kind of going back to your earlier question about, is the tick or minute bars more pure? So is the tick or minute bars more pure? So let's see this NQ. I'm not sure what a good number for a tick chart would be. So I'll just do a 250 tick chart. Well, once again, this is kind of getting off topic of BloodHound training, so I don't want to go into this into too depth. But it's just a preference. I can't really say that one bar or one chart type is better than the other. It's a personal preference to the trader. With tick and minute charts, you get a lot of what's considered chop. Like this whole area here where price just kind of stagnated. Whereas if if I put this on, let me just put this on a 5 Renko, and we'll look at that same area. And let's see, no, 5 Renko is a bad example. Let's see, how about if we do a, I did a 5 range. Well, how about if I do a 10 range? And if we look at the same area, well, we can see there's less bars that show up in your chart. And if we use one of these modified Renkos, like if I put the backtest Renko on, and I'll change up my reversal to 10. Let's see, it's up that to 2. So I guess just kind of the general comment would be, traders are using different bars to try and eliminate, this kind of consolidation stuff here. Interesting. So even, the median Renko didn't really eliminate a lot of this chop. Chop is so severe, but, so Tim, all I can really say is just kind of comes down to a personal preference and to the system that the trading system that you're working with. Some trading systems work better on certain bars than they do with other bars. So. Alright, let's see. Bob is asking, do you have time to give an example of the use of the SI Chameleon? Yeah, you know what? Let me do that, and I'll kind of wrap it up with that question there. So I'm going to clean the chart up here. And we'll add SI Chameleon on here. Alright. So the key purpose of Chameleon is so that you can so you'll have access to all of NinjaTrader's price data, right? So you can see, right, Chameleon gives you access to the close, the high, the low, median, mid, open, typical, and weighted. All of those different price, all that different price data. So Chameleon allows you to use all this different price data inside of BloodHound. All right, so that's kind of its main purpose. And then it also has a secondary function up here. So let's see. I think I need to stretch this open. There we go. So now I can read the whole parameter name. So this says use alternate instrument or time frame. So we can even put Raven. If I set this to true, we can even put Raven on a different instrument. Right, I could put it on a different instrument. I could also put it on a different chart type. So let's see. Let's do something fun here. How about if this really may not work out well, because when you're mixing Renkos and range bars and stuff like that, because the time periods, because when the bar closes, the time that the bar closes, because they don't match up, you can really get some odd results when you mix and match different charts like this. But let's see. I'll put it on a 5 Renko, and we'll show. Yeah, all right. We'll show the. Actually, I'm gonna make this a little lighter, thin it down, and what I really want to show, yeah, there we go, the closing price. And let's put this on. I want to put the closing price on a line plot, and I just want to make sure that the other price data is all turned off. Yep. All right. Yep. So all these other price data is right. They're all set to transparent, so they shouldn't show up on the chart. All right. Let's see what happens. This ought to be interesting. So what's happening is NinjaTrader is having to calculate a 5 Renko chart in order to feed that data into Chameleon. And all right, so interesting. So the white line is representing the closing price of the 5 Renko, kind of imposed on top of this backtest Renko. So, actually, I think instead of the line plot, I think what would work better is the, there we go, the square plot. Yeah, let's going to take a look at some of this. Interesting to see. Right, so we can see that the Renko, I did a 5 Renko, and so we can see price didn't move high enough to create another Renko brick, and so the Renko chart only went up to this price point, whereas the real price data went up a few ticks higher, and then it came back down. Interesting, right? And so as we look at you know, the red lines here, let's see, let me rearrange the high and the low. So that's set to hash, okay. So oops, let me set that to 2, set that to 2. And you, while the chart's building, you can see there's a couple of, I missed it. Okay. All right. So what I was trying to point out is that, you know, the white line is representing the closing price, and we can see where the low of that Renko brick was by looking at the red plot. And then as the Renko bar starts pointing down, then we can take a look at the green plots here, which represents the high of the Renko brick, and the white line representing the close of the Renko brick. So that's kind of interesting to see. Yeah, so we can see, like right here, this whole area in here, we had a down Renko brick. Even though price came up, but price didn't move up high enough to create a new Renko brick in the up direction. So even though price came up on this backtest Renko, the regular standard Renko bar was still a down bar. All right, so let's go over some other parameters here on the Chameleon. Alright, so there's some interesting stuff that you can do with the Chameleon. You can see that we have this add value here. So like if I wanted to, let's set that to 1, and trying to find myself a reference point here. Actually, let me close that out and put some markers on here. So I'm going to mark this point here. So I'm marking where the closing price is, the white line. And then I'm going to go into Chameleon and just use this add value and add 1, right? So you can give Chameleon an offset, a price offset. And so this price offset can be used with solvers. So like if you're using the comparison solver, then you're comparing the closing price to the low price or something like that inside the comparison solver, but you wanted to kind of like add an offset, you can do that in Chameleon. Right, so now you can see here, so what it did was it offset the closing price by 1 point. So you can see, remember, that the green dots is where the closing price used to be for Chameleon. Used to be down here, but now it's 1 point higher. Let's see, let me there. So now we have the horizontal grid lines set to 1 point increments. So we can see from the green dot up to where the white line is now, we can see that was a 1 point addition. So this add value is I added 1 point. So if I wanted to add like 1 tick, you know, I had to figure out what the tick to point conversion is, and let's see, with the NQ, I believe it's in quarters. So this should just add 1 tick of offset here to Chameleon. And while that is refreshing, I'm going to take a drink of water. There we go. So now we can see the white line is just 1 tick off from the green dots, which represented the, you know, the true closing price of Chameleon. And you can also see there's a scaling here. So let's double the scaling. See what kind of weird results we get from that. And then after this, we'll take a look at the look back feature. And let's see. Yeah, you gotta be careful with the scaling. So since I doubled the scaling, right, we can see the price is down here at 3,500, right? The NQ active price is around 3,500, and since I doubled the scaling, well, now Chameleon is plotting up here in the 7,000 range, right, which is 2 times where the NQ is truly kind of trading at. So it's there if you want to kind of play around with these. So let's set those back to normal. Alright, so here's kind of something probably a little more practical in your system building and some of the conditions that you might be wanting to build. So let me put I'll put a 5 look back period, and this time I'm gonna turn off the closing price, and we'll just take a look at the high and low. So I'm going to beef these up, make them a little stand out a little bit more. There we go. Okay. All right. So we can see what the look back period is doing. Let me clear some of these dots out of here. And let's see. I need to change one more thing so that makes a little more sense. And let me just kind of knock down the number of days we're loading here. That way the chart will refresh a little faster. Alright, now you'll notice that, right, these highs and lows aren't matching the chart that we are on. and that's because I still have this using alternate time frame turned on. So let's turn this off, and now it should make a lot more sense. There we go. Right, so we can take a look at this, this high plot right here, and we can see what that look back parameter was doing is it effectively, it's kind of taking this high point and extending it forward 5 bars, and it will keep track of the highest high point of the previous 5 bars. So let's kind of move this forward, right? So if we look back 5 bars, this is the highest high, and we'll step forward 1 bar, and still this is the highest high. If we step forward another bar, so now if we look back 5 bars, this wick here is actually the highest of the last 5 bars. And we'll just step through this, and now we can see here the red plot is identifying the lowest low of the last 5 bars. So as I step forward 1, keep stepping forward, right? So now you can see the red line stepped up 1 tick, because now this bar has the lowest low point of the last 5 bars. So you can use Chameleon to kind of identify if price is breaking the highest high of so many fixed bars back, right? So we could kind of use Chameleon to identify, right here when price broke the previous high of the last 5 bars, right? Or we could use Chameleon to identify when the closing price, right, is right at the previous high point of the last 5 bars. And alright, let's see, what else do we have for Chameleon. Yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up for Chameleon. Let's see, Mike is asking, not sure if I addressed this yet, Mike, but Mike was asking how is Renko different from range bars? And once again, this is a workshop for BloodHound, not for teaching you NinjaTrader or how other products work. So yeah, so questions like that, Mike, I really don't address in this workshop. What you can do is I suggest, if you want to know how Renkos and range bars calculate, Investopedia.com, it has a great resource of technical technical answers on bar types and indicators and just kind of trading information in general. So that would be my suggestion, is to go take a look on Investopedia, and I'm sure they have a write-up, an explanation of the Renko and one for the range bars. So let's see. All right, Wooter is asking, unless retracement, the body of the candle is non-existent or fake. Just the very last tick is real. True? Oh. Geez, Rooter, I'm not. Let me read that again. I'm sure you probably asked this quite a while back. Okay, yeah, so, alright, so Wooder's question is, unless retracement, the body of the candle is non-existent or fake. Yeah, so in regards to the backtest Renko here, you know, there's two different modes for the backtest Renko, right? You have this wave mode, and with wave mode off right now, then the body of the bar is correct because it's showing the true, the actual opening price of the bar. Now, if I turn this wave mode on, you'll see it looks like the Pro Renko, you know, or the RJ Spectrum Renko, in which case the body of the bar for the most part will be fake, right? You can see now that the body of each of these bars is consistent. So yes, that would be true that you know, the body of these bars are pretty much fake, you know, quote fake, unless there is a pullback, right? Unless you get this wick, this pullback wick, then you know that price did actually travel the entire length of the body, but still the opening price is still incorrect, right? But at least you know that price did move inside the body of this bar if you have a wick on it. So so Wooder, yeah, I think you are kind of understanding things. So Mike is asking how to make the template the default, I guess within BloodHound. So Mike, I'm assuming that for example, like with BloodHound,
Order filled.
if you're wanting to make like this template, this BloodHound file as the default whenever you add BloodHound to your chart. So if you want to set, if you want BloodHound to load like this file, a certain file every single time, what you can do is right click and set default for SI BloodHound. I highly recommend that you don't do that, just because when there are updates to BloodHound, creating one of these set defaults for BloodHound will cause errors when there's an update to BloodHound, because NinjaTrader doesn't know how to deal with the differences between the values that that is made in this file. So when you click on this set default, it makes a file that saves all of these settings here that you can see. Well, if an indicator is updated and there's some changes to these in the background, you may not see it on the parameter list, but there could be some changes in the background that happen. Well, NinjaTrader doesn't know how to compensate for those differences between different versions of the indicator, and therefore NinjaTrader pops up with an error. So I'd recommend that you don't do that, but if you have to, you can set this. So, and then if you do start getting errors, what you have to do is open up your NinjaTrader 7 folder, go into templates, and then you want to go into indicators here, and you want to look for SI BloodHound, which in this case there isn't one, so let me
Order
oops.
filled.
So let me set a default here. And now you can see there's this SI BloodHound file inside of NinjaTrader 7 templates indicator folder. And so if you start getting problems, you have to go in and delete that file there for BloodHound. So, and the same thing would happen, right? You can see I have some set defaults for Chameleon and SI swings. So if we ever go in and update either one of these indicators, then once again, if I put this indicator on the chart, NinjaTrader will pop up with some error messages. You know, a XML. You can see the extension here says XML. NinjaTrader will come up with an XML deserialization error, and all that means is that I just have to go in here and delete these files, and that'll fix it. So alright, so let's see, Bob's got a question here. If two bloodhounds are placed in the same chart, they will both show racing stripes. Correct, to a certain extent. Only the first one places on the chart. Yeah, so here's what Bob is talking about. Let's see. So I'm adding two bloodhounds on the chart here. So let me. There we go. All right, so we can see. Let's see if I can find a. There we go. All right, so we can see the first bloodhound on the chart here is painting the whole chart, and the second bloodhound will not paint the whole chart. NinjaTrader only allows one indicator to paint the whole chart. At least put racing stripes across the whole chart. So let me load up a file real quick. Actually, no, I don't need to load up a file. How about if I I'll just create a simple signal here. Let's see, number of bars, 3. Yeah. All right, so we can see on this second instance of bloodhound, right? We have some signals here, but it's not. And we have racing stripes. All right, you can see it's painting the racing stripe, but just not across the entire chart. So NinjaTrader only allows one indicator to put racing stripes across the entire chart. All right, so there you go, Bob. I think I answered that one. So Mike is asking, so you need to go to file every time you want the same template. Let's see, every time you want the same template. Well, that's the best way to do it, Mike. You know, so like I said, you know, if you want to, like here, you know, if I set a default. I set this default, you know, you can do that, but you know, I kind of pointed out the problems you might have. So let me add bloodhound on here.
Order filled.
So I removed all the bloodhounds and I just added a new one, and you can see when I did that set default, it did load up this same template here. You know, so it is possible, Mike, but just keep in mind that when there's a bloodhound update, you may need to go and delete the file that this creates, right, if you start getting error messages. All right, I think that does it, guys. We'll wrap it up here. So all right, don't work too hard, have a fun weekend, and I hope to see you next week.